Hey, Dr. Huntington here, and in this video I'll give you a brief and simple explanation of the arthritic condition called gout. And then I'll share with you 6 things that you can do to start improving the condition. Alright, so gout is a buildup of a compound called uric acid in your body's blood and tissues. And due to several factors, the uric acid can then form sharp crystals which get deposited in your joints, particularly the big toe. But the crystals can also be deposited in your knees and your hips and fingers. Once there's enough crystals to irritate the joint, it becomes painful and stiff and inflamed. In fact, a joint can become so inflamed that it actually looks infected, and it can literally become hot to the touch. Now, it's the painful joint which is being caused by the sharp crystals that most people consider gout. But a better description of that painful joint would be a gout attack, because a person has gout when they have high uric acid levels in their body, even if they don't yet have any stiff, painful joints. So a gout attack is when you have the painful joint, and it usually resolves within a week to 10 days. But just because the joint pain and the inflammation is gone doesn't mean that the high uric acid level is gone. You see, normally the kidneys filter out and eliminate uric acid. But in people with gout, the kidneys can't remove it quickly enough to prevent this buildup. So now you might wonder, where does the uric acid come from? Well, about 2/3 of it's actually produced by your own body, as part of normal healthy living. And the other third comes from your diet. And specifically the breakdown of a chemical in foods called purines. And certain foods have a much higher purine content than others. And those are the ones that are problematic for a person with gout. So let's actually take a look up here at the board. Over here on the left, I've listed some of the causes of gout. And you'll often hear this, right? You'll hear that rich foods cause gout. And that's because those rich foods have high purine levels. And when people say rich foods, they're often talking about the high purine content proteins as well as alcohol. Now, I've listed alcohol here separately because I wanted to be specific about this. Alcohol, particularly beer, has a lot of purines in it. People who are overweight, they're going to have more problems with gout. Any sort of diuretic, whether it's a drug or some part of a food that you're eating, such as caffeine is a diuretic as an example, so your coffees and your sodas, and also aspirin. That's also going to increase your uric acid levels. If you're diabetic, it's going to be a better chance you have high uric acid levels. Hypothyroidism causes more of a problem with this. A lot of the immune suppressing drugs will increase uric acid levels. And there is a genetic component to this as well, just from the simple fact that some people are going to be processing uric acid better through their kidneys. Other people, for whatever reason, their body's just going to produce more uric acid. But it's not something to really focus on here because this is not the area where you're going to do something about it. Pretty much where you're going to do something about it is from here up. But below genetics here, I've got listed psoriasis. People who have psoriasis are going to have a tendency to have higher levels of uric acid just because of the systemic inflammation. And then just in general, I guess this is also covered under genetics, but if your body just produces too much uric acid aside from the diet you're eating, it's just going to be something that you're going to have to deal with. Now, I wanted to get very specific here with foods, right? Because as we said, about 2/3 of the uric acid in your body is produced by your body as a part of normal function. The other third is coming in through your diet. So if your uric acid levels are high, if you're experiencing gout attacks, then the way to address it's going to be with what you're putting in your body. So the first one I've got listed up here is fructose, which includes high fructose corn syrup. And I listed that here as number 1 because fructose increases uric acid levels. And it's also not something you want to have a lot of because it causes other problems with your body function, including high blood sugar levels. Alcohol I listed as number 2 because it's not something you have to drink. And, in fact, 1 serving a day of alcohol has been shown to increase your chances of having gout by 50%. Soda, because it's often going to contain fructose and also caffeine, which is your diuretic. So That's going to cause problems for people with gout. Fruit juices because of the fructose. Caffeine, which is the diuretic, we spoke about that. And then we get to, so I mean, you can look from here up. These are all very easy things to eliminate, right? The caffeine, the fruit juices, the soda, the alcohol, the fructose. Now we start getting into foods which might be a staple in your diet, right? Like high purine level shellfish, which would include like mussels and scallops. And you can look these things up easily online. You can look up which shellfish are high purine, which are medium purine, and which are low. And you definitely want to stay away from the high purine ones. High purine fish, you'd want to stay away from that. Organ meats tend to be high in purines, as does beef and fried foods. So the way I manage this is, if somebody has a problem with uric acid levels, right, then all these guys from here down, they're going to have to stay off of these at least until they get their uric acid levels under control. Fried foods, you should just eliminate altogether. But the rest of these are generally healthy, but the problem is if your uric acid levels are high, then you might have problems with these. But in terms of the caffeine, the fruit juice, the soda, the alcohol, and foods that have a lot of fructose in them, you should just eliminate them anyway. They shouldn't even be in your diet from an overall health standpoint. And then, of course, they contribute to the problem of the excess purines. All right, so you definitely want to handle gout with diet and lifestyle changes, because the drug therapies that are recommended for gout, I mean, they all have side effects, and it's not worth opening that door when you can just make simple changes. That'll give you a better outcome in the long run. Plus, it's insane to keep living in a way that results in you having to take drugs when you could just make the changes in the way you live, experience better health, and then no longer have to take the drugs, right? So the solution really is the food and the lifestyle. All right, so here's 6 things to help you handle your gout. First, stop drinking alcohol and caffeine because they contain purines and they cause dehydration. Instead, drink plenty of filtered water or spring water, because you want to increase your level of hydration. Now, there is some evidence that drinking a small amount of tart cherry juice actually lowers purine levels, but my concern about following that advice is that cherry juice is high in fructose. And as we said here, fructose actually increases uric acid production. And also for general health reasons, you want to limit the amount of fructose that you consume. But that leads us to my second recommendation for handling gout, and that is to eat a small amount of cherries each day, like up to 10. If not daily, you can do this, a few times per week. You see, these cherries are low glycemic, and so they're a good choice for when you want to eat some fruit. And since all fruit contain at least some fructose, it's expected that you'll have, a small amount in your diet. You just want to keep it limited. And so cherries are a great low glycemic, low fructose fruit, which also has the added benefit of neutralizing your uric acid levels. Okay, the third way to handle your gout is to stop crash dieting and actually lose weight properly, because obesity is closely linked to gout. And it's likely due to the fact that obese people have higher sustained levels of insulin in their blood. And the hormone insulin slows down the kidneys from processing uric acid. Now, the problem with low-calorie, restrictive diets is that they can actually increase your uric acid levels. So instead, you want to do your weight loss by crowding out sugar and starchy carbs from your diet. So you can do this by increasing your vegetable intake and eating only a moderate amount of low purine proteins, like 3 to 6 ounces per serving, and eating fat from foods that are low in purine, such as avocados or eggs. And you can find lots of other foods which are low purine or low purine fats by just looking them up on the internet. Okay, the third way to handle gout is to give up high purine proteins, such as certain kinds of shellfish, beef, organ meat, and unfortunately, bacon. You also want to avoid lentils and mushrooms and asparagus because they're high in purines as well. And remember, you should only eat a moderate amount of protein, somewhere between 3 and 6 ounces per serving. And then when you select your proteins, make sure to select the low purine ones if you're having trouble with uric acid. All right, the fourth gout stopper is to stop consuming fried foods. Fried food food that's actually fried in the wrong oil will actually cause the oil to break down and become rancid. And rancid fats, what they do is they actually destroy vitamin E. And you need vitamin E to control your uric acid levels. Not to mention that fried foods are like a religion in the southeast United States. And that area has the lowest life expectancy of any region in the country. And fried foods are a big part of that problem. So don't eat fried foods, whether you have a gout problem or not. Okay, the fifth way to handle gout is to break the stress cycle in your life and start getting adequate rest and vitamins. This is because stress is linked to increased uric acid levels. You should get the following from your diet or from a high-quality supplement. You should get vitamin C, which of course has a long list of benefits, but it's also been shown to lower uric acid levels. Curcumin, the active ingredient in the spice turmeric, is a powerful anti-inflammatory. Bromelain is an enzyme that you find in pineapple, and it actually blocks substances in your body that contribute to inflammation. And quercetin, which is a phytonutrient, helps to reduce uric acid levels. Now, if you want to know more about individual ingredients, go to BodyManual.com. And when you click on each product, you'll see a list of all the ingredients, along with a brief description of some of the key benefits of those ingredients. So you can go there to learn more. All right, so if you know someone with gout, please share this video with them, so they can get some relief. All right, I'll see you in the next video.